Of all angels, Lucifer was the most magnificent God had created. Aware of his beauty, brilliance and many qualities, Lucifer felt elevated above the other angels and, at some point, even above God. He wanted to be like God, so he created a throne for himself above the stars and convinced a third of the angelic beings to join his side and take over heaven. But Lucifer lost the war and was banished from heaven, cast down to hell. God transformed Lucifer's beauty, the trait he admired most about himself, into ugliness. And thus, the once so handsome angel became the vile, wrathful creature we know as Satan. Lucifer had fallen for the worst of sins, pride, which led to his inflated sense of self-importance, power and entitlement. In the 13th century, theologian Thomas Aquinas elaborated on what he called the capital sins in his Summa Theologiae, in which he considered the sin of pride the worst of all sins. Through pride, one becomes susceptible to the other 6 sins. Pride, therefore, is the instigator, the gateway drug to evil. However, nowadays, many people seem to encourage pride. We celebrate those boasting of their accomplishments. And social media is full of individuals who continuously post about their extraordinary lives. And we're not just proud of our achievements, we're also proud of where we're from, what nationality is in our passport, how we look, what skin color, and even what gender we have. But how and why is such pride bad exactly? The 7 deadly sins is a Christian concept that presents humanity with 7 immoral acts, 7 transgressions against the divine, oneself and the world around us. The idea of the 7 deadly sins came to fruition when the desert father Evagrius Ponticus listed the 8 evil thoughts: gluttony, lust, avarice, anger, sloth, sadness, vainglory and pride. But it had Greek and Roman precedents, specifically the ethics of Aristotle. In the 6th century, Pope Gregory I revised Evagrius' list and turned it into the list of sins we know: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. This video series explores the 7 deadly sins as a Christian concept and beyond. What's so bad about these sins? How do they apply to present-day life and society? And how can they influence our well-being and the well-being of those around us? And can non-Christians benefit from this concept? This essay delves into the mother of all sin: pride. When prideful, we take satisfaction in a supposed elevated and preferable position compared to others. We feel better than others, as individuals or as groups, because of specific characteristics and accomplishments. We might feel this way because of the ethnic group we belong to, the country we're born in, or even the gender we identify with. On the surface, pride doesn't seem so bad, but many Christians believe pride is very dangerous and a pathway to evil. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall, says the Bible. Let's first briefly explore some Christian views and examples of pride. As we've seen in the story of Lucifer, pride leads to one's downfall, according to Christianity. The central idea behind the danger of pride seems to be that we are not greater than God, and as soon as we try to be above Him, we get in trouble. An example of this we also see in the story of Adam and Eve, in which the same fallen angel, Lucifer, now the fully fledged Satan, disguised as a snake, convinced Eve that she could be like God if she ate the forbidden fruit. One interpretation of this story is that Satan tempted Eve by evoking her sense of pride through the disobedience of God. She assumed that she knew better than him and was supposed to be like him instead of serving him. From a Christian point of view, when we're prideful, we believe we're self-sufficient, as in we don't need God and can live without Him. We think our accomplishments are our own doing. Well, they're actually the work of God, like the proud Pharaoh of Egypt, who refused to set the Israelites free as ordered by God, saying, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey His voice to let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, nor will I let Israel go." End quote. Eventually, by sending 10 disastrous plagues to Egypt, God eradicated the Pharaoh's pride, so he realized he wasn't as powerful as he thought. Again, Pharaoh thought he was better than he truly was, above God in a way, and he and the people of Egypt paid a heavy price for it. The Lord detests all the proud of heart. Be sure of this, they will not go unpunished. End quote. Christian scholars have a consensus that pride is the worst of all sins, because, aside from biblical examples, it generates every other sin as a gateway drug that leads to other drugs. The reason why pride leads to other sins is because of the thought of being better than others. For example, pride leads to greed because one feels entitled to have more, often at the expense of others. The lustful individual sees others merely as objects to be used because he believes he deserves it. Envious people feel like they should have what they want and can't stand others having what they think they should have but cannot. The glutton feels she deserves more food than necessary even when others are hungry and deprives them of it by taking it herself. In his arrogance, the wrathful person believes that he is always right and justly avenges what he sees as wrong by others. And lastly, the individual whose sin is sloth thinks she's too good to work and that others can do the work for her. Hence, in Christianity, pride is a sin and the worst of all sins.